my first recipe video, I had to do this one specifically. I love spaghetti squash lasagna boats, and I love the fact that it's healthy besides the cheese. And one of my friends actually introduced me to this recipe, and ever since then, I have been hooked. I hope that you guys will test this out, and you'll probably be hooked as well. Enjoy! For this recipe, you will need 1 spaghetti squash, a jar of spaghetti sauce, cottage cheese, mozzarella cheese, and we use ground turkey, we use turkey sausage, whatever we have on hand. As ideally you would use like a sausage would be really good with this, or you can just season some of the ground turkey. First, start by preheating the oven to 375. Then cut your spaghetti squash in half lengthwise. Then scrape out the inside with a spoon. Once you scoop the seeds and the membrane out, you can season it with a little bit of olive oil and your choice of spices. I like to use garlic powder, Italian seasoning, onion powder, and salt and pepper. Once seasoned, then flip them over. And you'll pop them into the oven like this for 40 minutes. 40 minutes on the timer, and they're cooking in the oven. While the spaghetti squash cooks, you just heat up a pan for the sauce, and I'll start by putting a little bit of olive oil in, putting a pound of the ground turkey, and because I'm using ground turkey, I'm going to use the same spices that I used on the spaghetti squash with the addition of the crushed red pepper. That's obviously optional. All of this, the seasoning wise, are optional. You can choose and change depending on what you like to use. These are mainly our go-to seasonings for everything. If you are using sausage, you won't have to do the seasonings on it. I forgot to say that earlier. But if you're using the ground turkey, you want to make sure that you're seasoning it before it cooks all the way through. So just toss the ground turkey into, or the ground beef, whatever, ground meat, whatever you're using. Just toss that into the pan and then coat it with the seasonings right from the start. Then that way it's able to incorporate thoroughly into all of the meat. This recipe makes 4 servings, and since it's just Michael and I eating it, I will cook the full pound of the turkey or the meat, but I will divide it in half and just store the other half in the fridge. We use it for on top of pizzas or in breakfast burritos. Hi, cutie. Yeah, is it good? I still have 9 minutes left on the spaghetti squash, so I just set the meat off to the side, and we'll come back to that once we pull the spaghetti squash out of the oven. Once you take the spaghetti squash out of the oven, just flip them over and let them cool off for about 10 minutes. About 5 minutes have passed on the cooling of the spaghetti squash, so now I just toss the pan back onto the burner to heat the meat up again, and then I will put in the Chunky Garden tomato sauce. If you're making your own tomato sauce, you can toss that in as well. If you're using a tomato sauce that doesn't have onion or garlic in it, feel free to add that. Make it your own. A little trick for you guys that maybe everyone knows, but if you once you get to the bottom of the jar, just add a little bit of water and then put the lid on. Shake it around, and that'll help you to get the last bit of the sauce. Now that's a much cleaner jar. And the last little bit. And then we'll just stir this around till this is all heated up. This is a pretty meaty sauce. If you want it less meaty, you can change the portion of the meat to a half pound and then work with that. Or you can add more sauce. I had about a half jar left of this. So change it to your preferences. That's the awesome thing about cooking, is you can do whatever you want. The recipe is just a guideline, and you can change whatever you want depending on what you like. And after making this recipe a few times, we realized we liked it a more meaty of a sauce, so that's why we make it like this. And now that the sauce is heated through thoroughly, I'll just reduce the heat to a super low heat, and then we will work on the spaghetti squash. Like I said earlier, this spaghetti squash recipe makes 4 servings. So 2 will come from this half and 2 will come from this half. So I'm only going to prepare 1 half because that'll be the perfect portion for us. For the spaghetti squash, you'll just scrape a fork along the inside and you'll come out with the noodle-like consistency. Once you get it all shredded up, now it's time to assemble it. Your first layer in this assembly is going to be the sauce. Then your cottage cheese. Then your mozzarella cheese. And lastly, your shredded Parmesan cheese. I didn't mention this in the beginning because this is optional. We like to do mozzarella and Parmesan whenever we do a cheese topping. After it's all assembled, then broil it until the top is golden and bubbly. And this is it. Once it's all done, I just topped it with some parsley flakes. And we always like to eat it with a salad. I hope you guys will try this out. If you guys do, let me know down in the comments. Thanks.